Hey, welcome back to the Closure House. I'm your host, Jesska. And in this episode, Toni shares how she escaped narcissistic abuse and what it was like to realize the people around her were supporting him through it all. She talks about that awakening, what it felt like, how she learned what narcissism really was, and how she found the strength to finally just walk away. This one's raw, real, and a reminder that breaking free is just the beginning of healing. So, thank you for being here and sharing your story. Can you just start by telling everybody about who you went no contact with and what's happened?
I went no contact with my ex-husband. We were married for almost 4 years, and we have a child together. And I want to say year 4, well, close to year 4, should I say, was a really difficult one because everything came to a head. He was arrested for domestic violence, and there was a criminal no contact put in place. So nothing I requested, something that the judge put in place as a term to his bail conditions, and then later his probation conditions was to stay away. The only way to remove that particular no contact would be me asking the judge. And a lot of times the judge will review the files and say yes or no. In my case, I never asked the judge to remove it, but I did ask him to amend it to allow communication with the children, and the judge did grant that. But about 4 months after that no contact, I had moved to a different state for my safety due to harassment and him violating that no contact. And a second one was put on, but this one is one I requested. I went to the court and got a 3-year protection order from him.
Yeah. So, you've done a lot of safeguards to keep you and the children safe. And I know you talk about it on social media, but how did this story start?
Ooh. So we're both, me and my ex-husband, we're both from the same state originally. However, we met when we both lived in California. He was enlisted in the military, and I was there working as a private client bank manager. Um, so um, pretty much, there was a situation at work and I went on like a leave due to the situation. And it was just an outside situation that happened to me and an employee. Our safety was put in jeopardy, and we took some time away from the branch. And
Yeah.
what was really difficult at that time is I've never been off of work. I've always been, I was a mom of a son. So I was a single mom at this time, and I've always just worked. So me having time off due to a traumatic event was really new for me, but I also felt super unsafe due to that event. So I actually joined an app, joined Bumble.
Mhm.
And it's funny saying it because everyone was pushing me to do it. And I was just kind of, it's an app. So I was a little bit turned off by it. I wasn't sure if this is what I want to do, but I also felt like I wanted protection. And in my eyes at that time, who better to protect me than a man after something I had just experienced? So it was a really difficult time in my life in terms of safety, feeling safe. And I was on Bumble swiping. I saw this person that seemed very outdoors, which is what I was in California, especially. I loved hiking. And we matched. We were talking for a few days, and then we set up a date. But I had this thing about me, and it's not just with online dating, but in general, where like if I don't know the person yet, I always cancel. And people used to call me like a ghoster. And I told myself I wasn't going to do that anymore. I was like, I'm not going to ghost. I'm not going to ghost. Like, I just get really uncomfortable instead of just
Yeah.
saying, hey, I'm uncomfortable. I don't know how to tell somebody it's nothing you did. I just don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to
Yeah.
date. I don't want to go on a date. So I would ghost instead of, I think it was just a scared thing I would do. But nonetheless, I told myself I wasn't going to do this, but I tried to do it with him. I told him that my legs hurt and I couldn't go to the date that night. So I told him like an hour before we planned the date. And he was so nice about it. I think he had called me. Yep, he called me. He said, "Hey, how's your legs? I'm so sorry this happened." And like we ended up being on the phone for an hour. And I felt so bad because I'm like, this is actually like a nice, normal person, and I just like did that to him. So we rescheduled the date for the next morning, and we went to breakfast. And at this point, I talked to him for like an hour. I felt like um, good about it, and we went out. And breakfast was good, but he was 3 years younger than me. So I
Uh-huh.
remember telling him, like, yeah, like our age difference might be a thing for me. I've never dated anyone younger than me. But he was big on age is just nothing but a number, I want something serious. And I remember telling my friend, like, yeah, I'm not going to take him seriously, even after that conversation, because I thought he was attractive. And I went on a date with someone in the military in the past, but that just wasn't like something I was super familiar with. So in my head, I thought we would just have fun, and have like that male figure around for me to feel
Yeah.
safe. But over the course of the next month, he was really big on showing up for me. He really, like, I remember after that first date, actually, he texted me that same day, maybe a few hours later, saying, "Thank you for going out with me." And I remember thinking, that's so sweet. That's so kind. Like, why is he thanking me? He paid. Um, like, I was like, okay. And I think I even said that. I was like, well, thank you. You paid. Like,
Yeah.
but overall, like, he was consistent on making me feel special, making me feel important, making me feel like I mattered to him. And that's something, just growing up in foster care, then being adopted in a difficult adoption. That's something that I really didn't know I needed. And I want to be transparent. Like, in the past, I've had relationships. I've had healthy relationships that just didn't work out. But it's crazy to say, but I think that my ex-husband, was pretty obsessed in a way, and that
Mhm.
sounds unhealthy for me to say, "Oh, he was obsessed," but I think I like that attention, because he was very consistent. Like, he would stop and stare at me, and I'd always turn around and say, like, "What are you staring at?" And he'd just say, You're so beautiful." Like, he always was. Now looking back, like, as I say this, I'm like, "Dang, that probably was kinda odd," like a red flag, how obsessed, and, but at the time, I didn't feel like it,
Yeah.
and, I thought that's what I needed. I thought that because he was so obsessed with me, because he was so consistent, on showing me that I'm important to him, that he was kind of my person. So we moved fast. We ended up dating after, I wanna say, a month, like, getting in a relationship after a month. And then we actually got engaged less than a year and
Right.
married less than a year of knowing each other. And a lot of that was, at the time, again, I didn't think it was a red flag, but it was pushed by him. He was heading to a deployment. And in his
Mhm.
eyes, he wanted to be first engaged before he left. And then it went from being engaged to he wanted to be married before he left. And then, sad to say, but after the marriage, it went from let's try to have a baby before he left.
Yeah.
A lot of it was pushed by his needs. And I thought that he just wanted a child. He just wanted a marriage. He just was serious about this. And I went with it thinking, again, he was my person.
Yeah. And it sounded like a fairy tale almost. So as this stuff is
Yeah.
happening, it's in hindsight, you can look back and say, "Whoa, that was super fast, and here's the
Yeah.
red flags." But at the time, it felt like the right thing to
Yeah,
do.
that's exactly how, like, when I repeat back, it's crazy 'cause, I'm repeating it back from a place of healing. So when I hear myself say, how fast we moved or certain things, I remember the feeling of, "Oh my god, like, I'm in love, this is my person." But now I'm like, "Oh my god, like, that was love bombing." I didn't know it at the time. Again, I wanna be transparent, like, I've been in relationships, but I've never experienced physical abuse, love bombing. Um,
Yeah.
and maybe, in my home life, physical abuse and things like that, but not in any, like, I've never had an ex-partner so much as lift a hand to me. So I guess it's just shocking that the person I married ended up being that person.
Yeah, but at what point did you start realizing what you were experiencing wasn't love and it was more of control and, like, manipulation?
I think after the baby came, when I was pregnant, unfortunately, that was the first time he was physically violent with me. But at the time, I was still in the manipulation. I thought that it was the stress of him preparing for a deployment. I even said, "Oh, we got married, we have a baby so fast. Like, maybe that's the stress." I pretty much blamed everything, but hey, he's an abuser. Like, I don't think it registered in my head that he's an abuser. I always thought
Mhm.
other things are the reason why he's doing this. Um, but just there was things where he changed like night and day. Like, he was so proud that I was breastfeeding her, and he would literally brag about, and this is a weird thing to brag about, how much milk I would produce, right?
Mhm.
And it went from that to I can't stand the sound of her breastfeeding. It annoyed him. Um Or, we had so much milk, it would take up places in the freezer, it would annoy him. It was like those night and day things. It's like one minute, you're happy I'm able to produce. I wasn't able to do that with my first son. I let him know I wasn't able to produce milk, um, enough to, feed him. So it
Yeah.
was important to me that I'm able to do it now, which is shocking, but I was happy. And it was something that he didn't, he was supportive at first, then he turned. And a lot of his abuse came out with her, the way that I would, I would say, I don't he had one time said, like, one of the reasons he fell in love with me is how I parented my son, how we had conversations, he was open with me, and, just the way I mothered him. But he would also tell me I'm too obsessed with the kids, that, I don't have a life outside of the kids, but in a negative way, not in an empowering way, like, "Hey, let's do something." It was more like putting me down, like, "That's all I
Yeah.
have." And, it's just I noticed those things would happen, and I was so confused because, again, it was like night and day. And I think meeting his parents, I met them when we were engaged. I think that that was probably my first real red flag because he never told me anything negative about them. He said that he wasn't that close with them due to his upbringing, but he never like broke down a bunch of whys. Like there was things that he would mirror, that I shared about my past that I found out later he mirrored, and thought, that was part of the reason why he wasn't that close with them. Actually, he did say, he wasn't that close with them because of certain experiences he had as a child, and unfortunately, he got into hard drugs at a young age of 10.
Mhm.
So I thought, like, these were the reasons that he wasn't that close. Um, However, after I met them, unfortunately, I had learned they were bigoted. Just bad comments they were making. We were obviously in an interracial relationship. They were making comments around me, and I think it was to test me to see. And I say this as a joke, but I think they were trying to see what type of Black person I was. If I was the one
Uh-huh.
that's going to let them get away with this, or
Yeah,
not.
say it and
Uh-huh.
it be okay,
And
but where did you
and
stand with
yeah,
it?
exactly where I stood, yes. And it was hard for me because I remember, having a conversation with my older sister, like, "What's the worst that can happen?" I never had thought that. I thought other things, but never that. So it was really hard for me to have that experience when I'm someone who grew up in diversity. I'm someone who has family from other races, and we really don't want that for each other, if that makes sense. We don't
Yeah.
want, especially being in foster care, we want every one of us to get married into a healthy family because we didn't have that. We didn't have that experience. So when I told my sister, she's working hard at because that was the last thing she wanted for me. Because family to us who didn't grow up with one is super
Yeah.
important. So I had realized, like, oh God, this is not. It was tough for me. That's when I realized the first red flag because he didn't warn me about their behavior, but he knew about it because he was embarrassed by it. And we had a marriage counselor, and he had told her that he believed his parents were racist, and then he shared details of why, but no warning to me. So to me, that was a red flag because you're showing me all the good parts, but you're hiding something important that would help me make an informed decision. And I was engaged with him at that time. Like I still could have called it off, and I did. But he had his friends call me back to back, two of them, telling me that that's not right. Like he loves me. He's nothing like his parents. He's not even that close to them. And it's wrong to call off a wedding because of his parents, not him. And they have nothing to do with our lives, which of course they do. Like they're his parents, but, and you know what I mean? Like in a sense they do. But I ended up calling back on the wedding because I did feel bad. I was like, you know what? Like that's true. Like why would I do that to him? Why am I judging him based off his parents? But I think it was the distrust of not warning me, but knowing
Yeah.
this that kind of turned me off. So that was the first red flag. Um, but as after the baby came, there was obviously more. I realized he was two people.
Yeah.
It was the him that I fell in love with, and it was the him that at the time I thought was the stressed him, but that was the real him. Um, he was big on uplifting me, and I told you about that.
Yeah.
But like after the baby came, he was big on putting me down. I would go to the gym, and I would talk about something like I did at the gym, and he'd be like, "Oh, that's weak. That's nothing." Um, the event that happened at work,
Mhm.
where I took leave and had time to date in the first place. He seemed so supportive and understanding. He felt, bad, so he said. But when I had a nightmare about it, a year later, he called. He said that I was I don't wanna say it on here, but, like, being a and I was weak,
Mhm.
that I was still worried about that and, to be specific, he said, "At least you didn't get shot." That was his words. And it was, again, night and day. Like, it's like everything he used to get me was fake, and I started realizing that. And I even asked him, I think 2.5 years in, when the physical abuse had started and the personality change, I had asked him, like, "Why me? Why pick someone with a child? Like, why?" And he was like, "I just have mental health issues." And he always had a reason. And he said, "No, like, I'm really that person. I'm just going through a lot." Like, it was always an excuse, and I sadly believed it. But I did ask why me at one point because I had realized that, oh my God, like, he manipulated me and he's not the person that I thought he was.
Yeah, so narcissistic partners often use charm, confusion. Those are things that they bank on, right? Because that's the way that they keep control. What are some of the other subtle ways that he made you doubt yourself before the abuse became clear?
Ooh, I would say just a lot of statements he would say. Um, because of my childhood trauma and foster care and being let down a lot, I hold on to things people say. I'm
Yeah.
really good at remembering things people say because I don't know why, but since childhood, like, I hold on to words a lot. It's crazy to say, but I do. Um, but there was a time where he made a comment to try to relate during the Black Lives Matter movement. And he was like, "My grandparents aren't from here. They came here on a boat or something like that." And when I brought it up later, he was like, "I never said that. They are from here. They were born and raised here." But, like, he did, like, I was
Right.
in my head with it. I was like, "Wait, did I hear wrong?" And I know I didn't, but, like, I started doubting myself because he said it so calmly, like, "No, I never said that." And I'm like, "Well, he's saying it, like, in a way that seems like he didn't." But it would be things like that that happen quite often. I let you know he mirrored my trauma.
Yeah.
I unfortunately, dealt with abuse as a child, and he told me he did too, and I actually, that was one of the ways I thought we could relate. I felt protective over him, but that story changed about 3 different times first it was an adult that was babysitting him.
Hmm.
The second time, it was like, a teenager, like maybe or almost a teenager, and the third time, it was someone his age or close in his age. I think he said he was like 7 or 8, so the person was like 9. And then it
Right.
went from something serious to playing house with the 9-year-old.
Yeah, to something
Um,
that was really minimized when in
yeah,
reality he hadn't. But you were bonding on these things.
yeah, so I remembered how he said, and when he switched the story like that, it was tough because I think that's when I realized, like, "Oh my God, he's a liar." Like, his, because I don't you don't play about abuse, you don't play about sexual abuse, you don't play about child sexual abuse, like, that's you don't do that. But that was a way for him to relate to me, and then I started thinking, like, what else did he lie about? Like,
Right.
did he even do hard, drugs at the age of 10? Now, I do think he did just because there's sorry, that part I do believe he did, but, um,
But it made you question everything else
yeah,
because he's lying about these things that are some are serious and some are insignificant, like whether the grandparents came here, whatever way.
right, right, like, why do you even exactly, and, um Even even just being close with his parents. He said he wasn't close with his parents, and I believe that he wasn't, but that's not true. Him and his mom in particular seemed close. They would play these, like, they play these games on their phone, the iPhone games all the time. They checked in, like, it was like a normal mother-son relationship. And then when I questioned, I said, "Oh, I thought you weren't close," because I'm not close with my adopted parents. So I was like, "I
Mhm.
thought you weren't close with your parents." He's like, "Oh no, I'm not close." He said that he had told them he needed space, but they never give him space. And I'm just like, things don't add up. And there's nothing wrong with every person I dated before him was close with their parents. That's a normal thing. You want to be close with your parents. Why
Yeah.
pretend to be like me? I don't want this for me.
Yeah.
I
And you
didn't,
didn't
like,
choose it for you.
right.
Ugh.
So, like, it really was hard to hear, or like, hard to see that, like, he lied even about that. It Throughout our marriage, his parents, like, we kind of had our ups and downs with them due to their behavior. They ended up apologizing, saying they could learn something from me. I think it was just a forced apology because my ex-husband had cut them off, and they just weren't a part of our life. So I think it was just like, let me apologize so we could be a part of their life. So I took it with a grain of salt. I honestly, to be honest, I was at the point that I could care less about that relationship. I just wanted to be respectful and just keep
Yeah.
my distance. It was like that. So they came to visit. Again, we were in a different state, and they would make comments, and they would see the holes in the wall. There was holes in the walls. And I said, yeah, he gets angry and punches holes in the wall. Didn't tell you the rest of the things that he does. They saw the stab marks in our hardwood floor. I said, yeah, he stabs nice in the hardwood floor. And side note, he would do that, and then I would go downstairs and be like, what was that noise? He'd be like, nothing. And then I'm like, what's that mark on the floor? And he'd be like, oh, a knife fell. And he'd be so serious, like, so, like, straight face and all. And I'm just like, I think there was things like that, that would happen. So when they came to visit and would see these marks, his dad had told me, he was like, yeah, when he was younger, I think he was like 16, he slashed his tires. He's like, I didn't know who did it. So I called the police, because his dad was a police officer himself.
Yeah.
So I called the police, and I had no idea. I wish he would have told me it was him and saved the police call. But yeah, his own son got mad at him and slashed his tires. I remember thinking, like, it, he's always been like this. And I
Right.
asked him, I said, hey, like, you slashed your dad's tires? He's like, oh. He didn't even answer. He just didn't want to talk about it. I think he was just embarrassed that I knew. Um, but it was behavior like that. Like, he didn't just mirror me. He mirrored friends too. He had a friend, and his friend was going through like a hard time with the girlfriend. And there was a comment one time that my ex had made, and it was so random. He was like, I hate when we argue. I can't work out at the gym. I can't like function when we're not okay. And I was just like, okay, dude, stop being abusive, and we wouldn't argue. Um, but his friend said that in text to him. His friend said, I can't function. I can't even go to because they were trying to go to the gym. I can't go to the gym
Yeah.
when I'm like not talking to her. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, you can't even have your own lingo. Like,
Yeah.
these are the things you notice over time. Music change was a big one.
Oh,
That
tell me about that.
he would listen to we listened to R&B, pop, the usual. He wasn't like, he didn't listen to rap music. I did, but he liked the rap. Like, it sounds silly, we would sing WAP in the car. I was like, I know it sounds crazy, but that was like our song. And he would get super loud on the Cardi B, part, like the chorus. And music was another way I bond with people. I like that he liked the
Yeah.
music I like, and I like some of the music he liked. Well, towards I want to say the last 6 months, before I left him, he was listening to hardcore heavy metal, like the "I'm gonna kill you," da, da, da. Like, again, there's nothing wrong with that. I have a friend, a close friend, that loves that music. That wasn't anything he's ever listened to. But then he started listening to it like nonstop, and it would be loud blasting. And I said, like,
Yeah.
since when have you listened to this? He goes, I've always listened to this.
Yeah.
It's like, it was insane. I remember thinking, like, like the loudness, the chaoticness matches how insane he's been getting. This makes sense. Like, it's just was things like that. Like, I truly felt like I was married to a stranger. Like, the more time we were married, the more time I realized he's not the person that I thought he was. He's a stranger. And at the time, I never had called him a narcissist, because I didn't know anything about narcissists. I didn't have any education. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was just a mental health crisis he was having, one that kept going, and one that only showed with me and the kids, one that was very carefully not showed around his family or friends. I just thought it was a mental health crisis. And it, for me, because a lot of people will wonder, like, how was I able to leave and stay gone type of thing and not take him back? And it was like, I don't know how other people are, but you fall out of love with the person once you finally realize the idea of them is not who you want to be with. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I have one life. Like, I can't spend it with him. I can't spend my only life with him. I wasn't happy in any manner. And I had planned to leave after he had harmed our daughter, who was 1.5 at the time. So once he did that, I was already falling out of love, but I was done. That you don't witness the father of your child harm your child and still think of them the same. I don't think anybody would. I don't think it's possible. But that was like the last strike. It's like one thing to harm me, but now you're harming her. But
Think people get stuck in this space though, because most people believe that the partner that they had that was loving is going to show back up at some
yeah,
point.
I
Once
did.
you once you have the realization that that
Yeah.
person does not exist, then
Yep.
it's easier to leave.
Yeah.
It's a lot of grief, but it's a little bit easier to leave.
Yes, it took years. I actually thought it was me. Like, I used to blame myself and say, "Well, maybe it's because I gained weight. Maybe it's because, we moved here because we lived in California, but we moved to Colorado. Still not near his family." But again, all these things, like the moving, was his choice. We were
Yeah.
caught on Arizona or Colorado. He had friends in Colorado, and we chose Colorado. Like, I was bending towards his needs, and in my head, I was still blaming myself at the time, thinking, maybe if I do this, maybe if I do that. I even like would go to the gym thinking maybe if I, get back to my old self when he first met me. And then even then he would put me down going to the gym, like the
Wow.
action of going to the gym. One thing about him, he never came at my weight like once, which was crazy because he didn't come at it, but he also like didn't the only thing he came at was me going to the gym. But it just I had to think
Mhm.
back. I'm like, it was never yeah, it was me going to the gym.
Yeah.
Which was just so odd that, like, wouldn't you want me to go to the gym? Wouldn't you want me
Well,
to be healthy?
a lot of times they don't want you to leave at all because they're using you as a supply to fill whatever they actually need. So
Yeah,
if you would have harped about the weight, you probably would have gone more,
right. That's true.
you know?
That's true. But those things confuse me. I'm like, I'm insecure about my weight, but he doesn't seem to care. But then I go to the gym and he makes fun of me. It was just an odd mind game, and I was so tired of it. And I know this sounds crazy, but, like, it's a loving your it doesn't sound crazy, it's a good thing, but it's a loving yourself thing. Like, I had to love myself more than the idea of him, more than idea of being married. I had to understand I remember thinking, like, I didn't wanna be a single mom of 2. I didn't wanna be a single mom of 1, but I did it.
Yeah.
I did it with my son, and we did very well, and I'm gonna have to do it again, you know? It's one of those things, where I was okay with having to do it again. Um
Yeah. I'm glad you believed in yourself enough. A lot of times people feel stuck because they don't believe they can do it again.
I think, and this is like something that I tell women when I'm speaking to them in group, is like, if you have a job and you love that job, keep your job. If you have a way to get employment that you're happy with, because I'm big on being happy with what you do, get
Mhm.
it. I think what saved me is that I was in a sense, I guess, the breadwinner. Like, I was the one employed. I was the one working full time. After he got out the military, he actually went to school full time and he got like a GI Bill, a small GI Bill. So I was the provider. And let me be clear, like, when I was a bank manager, especially when I was a licensed bank manager, because those things, sorry, a private client bank manager, those things are different. Um, because I, grew up in foster care and didn't have a connection to my adopted family after I left, I knew I was on my own. I knew that I
Yeah.
needed to work hard. So I went to college and I bought my first house at 21, and I moved up in my career fairly quick. I became a bank manager at, I think I was 21. Yeah, it was announced. It was like a
Wow.
big deal because I was one of the youngest in our district. Um, to be a bank manager. I think I was the youngest. I wasn't one of the youngest. I was. And they made it like this big announcement. And it's because I used to work super hard, and
Yeah.
working super hard meant I missed a lot of my son's events and things like that. So I actually, this time with my daughter, I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I want to be able to show up for her and do her events. So part of me was like, I'll just get like part-time job or something. And in my head, I was like, I'll just do less so I could be more
Yeah.
present. But deep down, I knew I shouldn't, like, it's like deep down, I was like, Don't do less. Don't do less. Like, don't take a part-time job. You need some support." So I kind of did a middle where I started a job where I work from home.
Yeah.
I was able to still provide, but I work from home. So I got to be present for my kids more than I was when I was a single mom of my son, and also bring in income, and have that career. And I'm so proud that my mind told me not to take that part-time job, not to leave my career, because I don't think I would have been able to leave, um,
Yeah.
the way, like, I would say, and stay away. I didn't need him financially. Um, Actually, per the divorce documents, I would have owed him alimony. But yeah, but
Well,
he did not qualify because I was divorcing him due to domestic violence. So
yeah.
I didn't have to pay him any alimony, in that case. So it's just one of those things where a lot of women do become stay-at-home moms because they wanna be with their children, and that is a full-time job in itself, and
Yes.
I don't discourage that path either, but if you could have a way, even if it's a small business, something of your own, that's important because you don't have to lean on your partner so much to the point that you gotta stay in an abusive marriage just because financially you don't have another option.
Yeah, and when you started pulling away or speaking up, how did his family respond?
So the thing is, I didn't like during the marriage, I didn't really talk like I didn't have a good relationship with them. I talked to his older brother's wife. I call her Karen in my story times, but that's not her name. But I talked to her and like towards the end I talked to her. I would tell her like what's going on and um he would do some pretty insane things, you know, putting us in jeopardy on a highway, things like that. And she would say, like, leave him. You're walking on eggshells. You deserve eggshells. You deserve better. Um, she was big on just like, girl, get out of that, you know, marriage. Like,
Mhm.
she was someone I bonded with because she was in the family by marriage like me, but she also wasn't a fan of my former mother in law. She saw the manipulation, and that's another thing I don't delve into too much, but my mother-in-law was very, very manipulative, even with Karen. Karen is a police officer, and so is her husband, and I had went on a we all went on a vacation with them, and because I was at odds with the mother-in-law due to her comments and ignorant, speech and things like that around me, she had said to Karen, "Oh, you're going on vacation with her? She wants to, be around you guys? I thought she doesn't she hate police?" And that was heartbreaking because it's like she was trying to put things in her ear that wasn't true that
Yeah.
I never said. Actually, I dated, two police officers in my past. So, I mean, to say I hate police is pretty odd. I like many people, don't like bad police officers. That's
Yeah.
very normal. But to say I
Yeah.
just hate her or hate police because of her job it was pretty like frustrating because I never said that. She twists my words to make it seem like that because she knew that I just didn't like her. I didn't like her due to her behavior. I didn't like her due to her
Yeah.
treatment towards me and her actions. I didn't like her. But because of that, she tried to manipulate the other family, especially ones that I was talking to. She even told me everyone else agrees with her in her comments. She has a boss. Her boss was white at the time, who's married to a black man, and her boss doesn't think she says or does anything wrong. Like she tried to make
Mhm.
it seem like it was me. She even told me actually, "You're the only daughter-in-law I have issues with," which was ironic because I found out that wasn't true. But she really tried to isolate me, and she did that when I was hanging out with Karen. So one of the things me and Karen bonded on is the fact that we understood she was manipulative. We understood the type of person she was. Not she was pretty toxic, to say, and she doesn't understand her ways because she's probably so used to getting away with them until I
Yeah.
probably came along, called it out. Karen, I don't know if she called it out, but I know she didn't like it. At least she called it out to me. But, pretty much, Karen was the only one that I was, like, telling what was happening, after an incident where my, ex-husband had strangled me, and he had a look in his eyes. I thought that was it. I thought he was gonna end me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So, whew, I had called the police that time, and wasn't making sense. I remember being on the phone and like I'm trying to get a word out, and I'm like, I don't even know what I was saying, but the lady kept saying, "Can you say that again?" The
Yeah.
operator, and I'm like, "He strangled me," and I don't think they heard that because when the police came, they said, "What happened?" And I was like,
Mhm.
"What?" At that point, he had left with a firearm. He was threatening to harm himself. He knew the police were on their way when he left. And I'm like, not worried about what the police are doing. I'm trying to get them out so I can make sure he doesn't harm himself. So I'm like, no,
Yeah.
nothing. And I remember them saying, did he hurt you? And I was like, no, nothing, nothing. And they were like, well, why did you call? And I was like, I don't know. Actually, can you check on him? Like, I think he's going to hurt himself. They said, did he say that? I was like, I forgot I don't know if I said yes or no. I think I was still trying to protect him so he didn't like get in trouble. But I think I
Yeah.
was like, I think he is. I think he is. I did tell them he had a firearm. And they said it's registered to him. He's allowed to have a firearm. And pretty much they stayed for like maybe 10, 15 minutes. They gave me a DV card. One of the police officers circled his number. Another said I could text this line, like if I'm unsafe. And I think that's when it finally registered that I'm in an abusive marriage because police officers were giving me domestic violence pamphlets and circling their number, telling me I could text this line. It's a safe line. And the officer told me to hide the card somewhere safe. And I'm like, what? Like, just focus on him. He's trying to hurt himself. So, like, that day I had texted his mom. That was the first time I told her what happened because I was so
Mhm.
scared he was going to harm himself. So she knew because of that. I was like, can you make sure he's okay? He's going to do this. He's going to do that. And because he had that firearm, I really thought he was. I didn't know it was manipulation at the time. I didn't.
Yeah.
But his mom was aware. She even said, like, I don't know where he's got that from. His dad's never put a hand on me. Actually, he just pushed me once. That's what she said. Um, and she was just like, I don't know where he got that from, and I should have paid more attention
Yeah.
to him when he was younger. Like, she said something about she saw the signs. Like, signs of what? But she said she should have paid more attention to him when he was younger and not just another brother. There was another brother who had legal issues.
Mhm.
She's saying she put a lot of more attention on him. She should have paid attention to my ex-husband as well. And because he was gone, when he finally came back, I had like let her know. I sent her a screenshot. In that screenshot, he said, I'm coming back. I just went to pick up XYZ. And then in the screenshot, I had said, like, okay, that's fine, but like, you can't keep hitting me. Like, and then I think before those messages, I said, like, come back. I didn't tell the police you strangled me, like, come back. Um, so she saw all that in the screenshot. She even saw his replies where he says, like, I know I can. I'm so sorry. I hate that I do this. So she saw it. She saw the screenshot. So she was aware that not only, yes, was he abusive, but he apologized for it in a sense. And yet still, after I left him, she told Karen and probably others that she just doesn't know what to believe and she's not going to get involved. She did get involved in support of her son because she took a part, like her husband, they both took a part, they both took part, I'm sorry, in the smear campaign. The one that says she's crazy or she was this, she did that, she did this to him. Knowing all they know, they both took a part in the smear campaign. And when you say, how did they feel about me speaking out? I that's the gist of what I did during the relationship. And after, I was just in recovery mode because the post-separation abuse started. And I was trying to function, to be honest with you. I was trying to function. I didn't know how I was functioning, but I was trying my best to function each day, wake up for
Yeah.
my kids, and dealing with nightmares every day, dealing with being scared because he would come to the home and try to torment me and the children. And I was so scared to call the police on him, so I would tell Karen. And he admitted to doing certain things like hacking into our camera system to watch us. Um, he would come to the home, and I say it was winter, but I don't know if it was fall, winter. Like, I know it was like getting to that, winter weather.
Uh,
We're in Colorado, so it was 30 to 40 degrees at night, about like 50 during the day. And what happened is we had a Ecobee thermostat, and it was a smart thermostat. And for 4 days straight, he'd log in, turn it down to the lowest point. So it could only go to, I think, like 60. He'd turn off the heat, turn on the AC, and I'd wake up for 4 days freezing cold. The kids would be freezing cold. My toddler would be freezing cold. And she got sick from this. But I didn't know what was going on. I wake up in the middle of the night cold. I wake up in the morning cold. I turn the heat on, and it would start getting toasty, and then it would go right back off like an hour later, and it would start getting cold again. I'm like, it's broke. I had realized it was him logging in
Whoa.
remotely for 4 days trying to make us cold. And he told his sister, he told his brother's wife, so his sister-in-law, that he did that. He told Karen, he admitted to that. And
He really
yeah,
tried to drive you crazy
he
in
tried to
so
drive us
many
crazy,
cases.
yeah. And he came to the house one night. It was like maybe 8 o'clock. We're watching TV and the power goes off. The whole house goes dark. I'm thinking the neighborhood lost power. I go out to
Right.
see, and his car speeds by. He had turned our power box off from the outside, and no, the neighborhood didn't lose power. I didn't know where the power box was, so I had to like find it. Um, and I called the police. That was the first time I finally reported it. And they said, like, oh, like, did you see him? No, I saw his car. But it might have not been his car. It could have been somebody else driving it. Like, they're like, we'll make note of it, but we can't make an arrest based off of that because you didn't see him.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, like, okay. So yeah, it was just a lot that was happening, and I was silent. I wasn't healing out loud. I wasn't speaking up. I felt alone. I fled the family home for my safety, and I was still in touch with Karen at the time, and she let me know that he found that new address I lived in the first like few days of me being there. Uh, Still not speaking up and being silent. I'm just trying to survive. Um, as time went on, Karen went from calling him like a psychopath, a narcissist, a sociopath, like all the names, because she was a third party communicator at this time.
Yeah.
Because again, legal implications had happened. We couldn't communicate. And she was dealing with him firsthand. He was admitting things to her. He was texting her saying I should stop being a she screenshot and sent it to me. He's saying that he doesn't care about our child. Um, I think he called me a racial slur to her because she said he sent something derogatory and unsent it. And I told him he's a horrible human. So I'm assuming that's what it was because he also called me one via text.
Mhm.
So these are the things I'm dealing with. And Karen knows. So when Karen told
Yeah.
me to allow freebies and not report his continued harassment, I cut her off. I sent her this whole
Great.
paragraph and I was done because at that time I had got a therapist and I got a DV advocate. And they were both like, absolutely not. This is not your support system. My own family told me not to trust her from day one, by the way.
Yeah,
But
but it's hard to not trust. You know, I hear them when people are like, "Don't trust people who are involved." But one thing is,
right.
it is so lonely
It's so
that you
lonely.
need somebody to be like to talk to or to just have some level of understanding just to be able to say what's happening, and she seemed like she was listening, and
Yeah.
then she kinda just flipped
She
sides.
flipped right after, about a week after she said that my former mother-in-law was giving her the cold shoulder. I guess, she actually had told Karen that she shouldn't be talking to me, that my ex was family. And then Karen had told her, well, so is Toni. Right
Mhm.
is right, wrong is wrong. According to Karen, that's what she told her. But then she started getting the cold shoulder from my former mother-in-law. There was another incident where I had asked Karen not to communicate unless it's about, like, third-party communicate unless it's about the sale of our home or our child. She sent me a message saying how he's breaking down. He was asking, where is this? Where is that? Like, I packed all this stuff and put it in the garage before I left because we were selling the
Yeah,
home. And I'm like, it's in the garage. And not only just that, but why are you texting me his breakdown over materialistic things? This man is ruining our life and harassing us. And she's like, oh, I just
right.
thought I'd ask because he's breaking down.
Ugh,
She also told me he was apologetic to her. He like realized he messed up. Um, Again, okay, he did that to me all the time. He'd be abusive and then be apologetic. Like, I just wasn't hearing it. And you could tell she was starting to fall for the manipulation. She was probably being ostracized by her former mother-in-law.
yeah,
And, it went from right is right, wrong is wrong to allow a freebie. I wouldn't report it. His grandmother just died. Like, that's literally what she told me. As she's a police officer, I found out later that she should have never deterred me from reporting a crime.
yeah. You
Um,
know, for those who may not know, flying monkeys are what you always talk about in your videos, and you talk about how it's impacted. But for the listeners, they're people who enable narcissistic behavior. So, you know, his family played a big role in your situation. So when people get stuck in it, this is why. Now you have somebody you're confiding in, and you're like, okay, I need to stick this out or I need to leave or
yeah,
whatever they're telling you. And now they completely flip flop and then you get abandoned and it feels like another discard.
yeah, yes, yes, it was hard. But after I blocked her and the abuse continued, I finally reported him. That's when I got that second protection order I told you about, the one that I
Yeah.
had to get myself. Um, he had a warrant out for his arrest. It's crazy because Karen had told me not, oh, I wouldn't report this. And she even called me saying, how would my daughter feel if I put her dad in jail over a word? It was the racial slur he called me, violating the court order by texting me. Um, but in my head, I'm like, he's done all these things up to this point. For months, I've dealt with it. And now you're telling me, oh, his grandmother just died. He's going through a lot. What was he going through before? Um, all the other times I didn't report it. So when I told the police, I remember showing them the text and showing them everything and telling them what Karen's like. Even the police were saying that's not your support system. They don't know what you're dealing with. They're not the ones
Yeah.
dealing with it. Um, and the officer, when I told her, oh, she said she doesn't know if you guys would do anything about this. And he was like, he said, you have a protection order. This is a violation of protection order. You call us and tell us and that it's violated. Of course we're going to do something. You have this protection order. So like pretty much
Yeah.
he was saying like this lady's manipulative. Like it's clear as day that we would have to do something. So it's just she was trying to deter me. I cut her off. And again, I didn't do it rudely. I sent her a message thanking her for all she's done so far, but I told her I think that she's biased and I need to lean on my own support system, right?
Yeah.
A month goes by and the harassment continues. I called the police. A month later, because this harassment continues, I file for that protection order. I go to the court.
Mhm.
I go to the court on a Friday. Actually, it's funny because I kept putting it off. Like my DV advocate would say, are you going today? And I say, no, I don't want to. I'd be so stressed. I don't want to go to court, relive it, have to talk to a judge. And then finally, like my ex had threatened to pull my child from daycare. I didn't tell him
Mhm.
she was enrolled in daycare. That freaked me out. So I was like, you know what? This is it. Like, I can't risk him taking her. So I went, got the protection order on a Friday. It was like a temporary one because he has to prove himself. Did you do this? Did you not do this? And again, a warrant was issued out for his arrest. So on Monday, they served the protection order. I don't know who does. I think a sheriff or something. Could have named department that his brother works in because they serve it around 6 o'clock. And my DV advocate is supposed to let me know when it's served. Um, she sends me a message to let me know it's served. Well, because he had the warrant, he would be arrested too. So around 6 something, I get a text from his older brother, Karen's husband.
Mhm.
And it says, "You're petty. Now I know why you blocked Karen. This is me and Karen washing our hands of you," because his brother
Oh,
must have been arrested and served. He's a police officer. I want to really notate that text me that. I remember being so confused. How am I the villain for protecting myself and my children? How are you texting me this as a police officer, but also as a person who didn't have to deal with the abuse, but you knew what I was dealing with?
yeah.
This brother, we're going to call him Brad. He also called his brother a sociopath. He also called his parents enablers, both of them. He was a part of talking trash on his brother, by the way. I want to be very clear. Karen and this brother had a lot to say about him, but I guess
Mhm.
not when I hold him accountable, right? But they had so much to say. So I tried to respond back and it didn't go through. So he must have blocked me after he sent it. And I had screenshot it and sent it to Karen. I was like, "Why is your husband texting me? Like, this isn't okay. I'm a victim of his brother's abuse. Like, don't you guys think I've dealt with enough?" She comes back very snarky and deflective because I had to unblock her to send that. And she's like,
Yeah.
"You blocked me, remember?" And then she goes, um, I think at one point in the text to her, I said, "If he has an issue with me protecting myself, he could reach out to one of my brothers." I did say that. Like, leave me
Yeah.
alone. I'm just one person. And she had, in her reply, she said, "Oh, you're making false threats, saying your brothers will handle it." And I'm just like, how is that a fault? Like, what is wrong with you? How is that a false threat? He should be, if he's a man and he's coming at me, shouldn't he just be speaking to another man? Because he wouldn't. That's the thing. That's the point I'm trying to make is he wouldn't. He wouldn't have the
Yeah.
courage to speak to any of my brothers. But I'm just one person, I'm a woman. So of course he has the courage to come at me, who's already trying to
Right.
survive his brother's abuse. It was very like cowardly of him. And his wife had his back. She was just like, "Oh, we're adults. You are trying to get, making false threats." And I'm like, how did you turn that around instead of saying, "You know what? I'm going to talk to my husband. We're going to respect your boundaries and not reach out to you again." It was none of
Yeah.
that. It was just going cat and cat. And because I was so traumatic, I was a lot nicer than her than what I would be today. Like, I would probably have cursed her out up and down to her face, right? Because I'm not intimidated by any of them anymore, like none of them. But at the time, I'm still recovering. So I'm like sending a whole paragraph of why I filed for protection, why I'm protecting myself, why. I
Right.
hate that I explained why to her. I hate that. And then it still became catty back. So
Yeah.
I was just tired. I stopped messaging her. I blocked her because I was getting nowhere. She was very catty, pretty much. She showed me that she was never my support system in that moment. Instead of recognizing, like, "Hey, my husband shouldn't have texted you," that was out of line. She
Yeah,
did.
and I understand you set a boundary there, and so after that, I know you didn't wanna speak to them, but how did you handle being painted as the villain?
At first, I was just so confused. I'm like, how did this happen? You guys knew what he was doing. It was confusing. Um, it was very confusing for me. It made me feel even lower than I already felt. Not having like my own big family support. I did have support, don't get me wrong, but like I didn't have two parents to run to and talk to. I felt
Yeah.
so isolated and I felt like they just were kicking me. Like I was the problem for saying, "Stop abusing me, protecting my
Yeah.
children." Um, it was really hard and confusing. And I think one of the biggest things too, like that I did for myself was having that therapist, having that DV advocate, because I called my DV advocate and told her, and she said, "Oh, no, 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 we need to report that to the non-emergency line. This protection
Mhm.
order extends to his family. They shouldn't be contacting you. He's a police officer. He should know this." So I reported it, and the police officer um, had called him and was like, "Hey, don't reach out to her again. This is a violation of
Yeah.
protection order." And his brother Brad was like, "Oh, I didn't know the perimeters." And then, okay, sir, you shouldn't have did it anyway. Whether you knew the perimeters or not, it's not. Why would you do that? Um, but that's when Karen had, I guess, asked her husband for that number, or the police officer called him back and said, I'm the one doing the harassment, reaching out to her and other members of the family. Again, she was blocked, and I didn't communicate with the family barely ever. I communicated with his mom at one point, like months prior, letting her know that CPS was trying to contact,
Yeah.
things like that. Like, she just lied. She flat out lied to protect herself. And the police officer called me back and told me what she said. And at that point, I just like snapped. When I say I snapped, I snapped. Like, the police officer wasn't even the issue. He said that he wasn't sure if he believed that anyway. Because I was like, I'll bring you my phone. Take my phone, do a forensics. Like, I don't care. Like, she's lying.
Mhm.
But police officers told me if they do it again, to document and make sure I don't delete anything and things like that. But I had like snapped because I think I was just so tired. And I made this TikTok video just saying all of it. And it went viral. And then I got embarrassed. Yeah, I did. It went viral. I got embarrassed and I deleted it like 2 weeks later. And this is me being new to TikTok, by the way. Like, I wasn't super
Yeah.
familiar. I didn't know when you delete, it deletes. Like, it was gone. But I was like, oh my God, like, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
And people in the comments were like talking about reporting them, get a lawyer. And I'm just like so overwhelmed. So that was my first experience of speaking up and healing out loud. That was the first. Months go by and I have them all blocked. Nothing has happened. I have court with my ex soon, so I'm preparing for that.
Mhm.
But court goes, it goes well. I get a 3-year protection order. He pleads guilty, so it was easy to get the 3-year protection order.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, all right, this is the first start. I move again, because remember, he has this address. I move again. And I'm under the at this point. So I'm thinking, like, this is my new start.
Yeah.
And things are actually going well. I go to the gym. My son's in therapy. My daughter's starting to do programs and open up. Like, our life's going fairly well. And then I decide to start healing out loud on Instagram. And that's when I started growing the following, and people started telling me, like, they've been through this. I felt like I had no unique situation, and it felt good. It felt good to know that this isn't unique. Not the racism, not the domestic violence, not the enablers, not the flying monkeys. Sad to say, I hate that so many people went through this, but it felt good to know I'm not alone. And that's what started me speaking up and speaking out. And so I want to say 6 months after me speaking out, I had, I had posted my ex warning him, women on a specific, and someone commented on the warning, and it was his new girlfriend. While on probation, he got into a new relationship, and I didn't know. That's how I found out.
Whoa.
Ironically, around that time, my ex had, after a year of not speaking to our daughter, not trying, not paying child support, nothing, abandoning her, which I was fine with at this point. Like, it was sad, but like, I was finally getting used to it. He had started reaching out on her iPad. So it coincided with the new girlfriend. So I didn't know he was even in a relationship. And I didn't get to comment back to her because someone else did and said, run, like, because she had children. She had 2 kids, 2 young kids. They're like, you have kids, like, run, he's not safe. On that page, there was 3 posts. One was from me. One was from a friend that I know who, understood what was going on. And till today, I have no idea who that third woman was. Because on that page, you can only post once about someone because you can't do too many. Like, you're not allowed. So I have no idea who the third person was till today. Like, what did he do to her? Because she sent a warning. And I didn't get to talk to the girlfriend on that page because I think I was just taken aback. And then my friend responded. And I just felt like, it's not my job to do more than what I did. Like, you have all the information. I think my friend even said, go to her page. Like, it's all there. And I went on Instagram like a few hours later, and I had a message from her too. And I'm like, oh my God, like, how did she find my Instagram? Like, I'm really confused. And she had told me she's been seeing my Instagram posts. So she knew he was abusive the whole time. And she said that she asked me to call her. I spoke to her. She said that he was forthcoming. And I asked her, okay, what did he say? He was not forthcoming. He told her a watered down version. She said that none of his family warned her. Actually, Karen pulled her aside at church and said that he's doing so much better. While he's on probation, about 6 months after the last court hearing. No, that's not true. He had a court hearing 3 months before that because of the violation of probation one. But yeah, she said he's doing so much better. she said she went to lunch with his dad, and the dad said, "I'm the crazy ex."
Yeah.
Um, my ex mentioned our daughter's name at that lunch, and the dad looked at him and said, "Oh, you told her about," I'm just going to make up a name. "You told her about Daisy." So my ex had said something about Daisy, and he said, "Oh, you told her about Daisy." And she was so confused. She said, "Why would he not tell me, his new girlfriend, about his daughter?" The dad fully expected him not to tell her about our child. Um, and she said that the parents were red flag. Everything I noticed, she's not a woman of color, but everything I noticed about them, she noticed. That's one thing I can say. People do notice their behavior, just they don't call it out. Because she's not a woman of color, I guess she has the luxury that I didn't have, right? Like, I don't have the luxury, and I don't want the luxury of not calling something out like that. So she noticed it, but I doubt she'll speak up. But she tried to relate to me, saying, I'm not a fan of the parents either. No one warned me about him, but I'm invested. I'm emotionally invested. And she had already moved him in fairly quickly to her house. She had her own house. He moved in. She told me him not paying child support gave her the ick. She told me he doesn't pay her any mortgage or anything towards her home. And I remember thinking, I was like, what's happening? Am I a Twilight Zone right now? You seem like a normal person. You just gave me all these red flags in the beginning. And now you have a warning. I told her what he did to our daughter. I told her what he did to me. She got quiet. That didn't give her the ick, but him not paying child support did.
So he's reaching out. That's how you were able to put together that's why he's reaching out now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave me some highlight on how narcissists are and how good they are. Because you're telling me all these bad things about him and his family. You got a warning. I didn't get a warning, but you're emotionally invested because you know what he's doing? He's love bombing her. He's being everything she needs him to be. And poor her, because she seems like she has a good head on her shoulder and she has faith he's going to change. Like she does. She does have faith he's going to change, even though he's actively lying to her, right? Actively doing things that says that he hasn't changed. I don't think he's physically harmed her yet. And I say yet because sadly, I do think it's going to happen, whether it's years down the line or not. I don't think that's a characteristic that's going to just change, especially when he's actively lying about his behavior. But I remember getting like in the moment, I didn't know what to say to her. I don't know what she wanted from me. I don't know why she asked me to call her. Till today, I still don't know. But I knew I wasn't supposed to judge her because she even said, I know this makes me sound stupid. And I said, no, you're not stupid. Like I said this so fast. Like, no, you're not stupid. That's all I could say, like really fast because I just didn't want her to feel like that. But when I ended the conversation with her, actually the conversation ended because he was coming home. She's like, she went from, oh, he wouldn't mind that we're talking to, oh, he's coming home. I gotta go. That triggered me. And then she messaged me saying, I'm so sorry I ended like that. I was just triggered.
That's why they say leaving a narcissistic family can feel like escaping a cult because everybody's intertwined and enmeshed. And anytime you're disrupting what is going on, even if it's dysfunctional, you're the problem.
Yes. And I remember her, what did she say? She said, she said that like he's going to church now. He's going to church on Sundays with her. And I could not bear to tell her that man fed the homeless with me and still abused me. Like I could tell she just wanted to believe that things are going to be different with her. Like I just couldn't break that idea for her that the man she's with is a terrorizer. And it didn't help that the family, it wasn't even giving her hints of warnings, none of them. So, when the conversation ended, I ended up getting triggered and having like a moment of what the heck was that? And a month went by. Actually, after that conversation, he started texting like snarky stuff to our daughter's tablet. Like one of the things he said is, I love you. I'm praying for you and your family. And in a real world, I'm praying for your family seems really normal. First of all, he doesn't talk like that. He's trying to be a smart A by saying that. And you're praying for the family that you destroyed. The one that, you made decisions to harm. Pray for yourself. Pray for yourself that whatever is going on in your head, it gets released for you hurt someone else. But then I want to say a month after that, he found our location. He found our address. And After I spoke to her, I started getting comments on my reels from fake pages. Oh, stop
Uh-huh.
speaking up. I told her about a documentary that ended up coming out that I told her, like, we're working on one, like maybe she should watch it. Da, da. I didn't tell anybody else that, especially not on social media. It was like one of those secret things you're going to announce at the time. In the comments, it says, you're working on the documentary. Like, that's enough. Like, stop. Um, you don't have to like move on, get in therapy. Who else would know that besides her?
Right.
So I realized her or people she knows were commenting on the fake pages, things that I told her. And I was so brokenhearted because it's like I gave her kindness when I should have hung up the phone the moment she told me she's emotionally invested. She's emotionally invested and she's not leaving. I should have said, okay, well, I'm emotionally, traumatized. So I'm going to end this call because I can't convince you.
Yeah.
And I gave her as much compassion as I could on that call. And for her to take that and start doing fake pages, it was heartbreaking because it's like, wow. Like, wow. And
Yeah.
it sent me into, like, I feel like a little mini spiral after I've been doing so well. He found my location, which the home I was living in at that time when he found the location, it was never my permanent home. It was an apartment. It was a 2-bedroom. I have 2 kids. Like, it was something that was safe when I had left the other home he found. So it was never supposed to be permanent, but I had left before the lease was over. So after he found that, I just was like distraught. I remember, it's crazy. I went to the mailbox and it was like 11 o'clock at night. My son had a job and I had picked him up and we're all getting ready to go in. He goes in first. And I go to the mailbox. It's the one that you can drive to or walk to. And I go to check the mail and there's something and it says his brother's name. And I'm like, why would his brother be sending something? So then I open it and it's a card from him to our daughter. And something that you look at, you're like, oh, it's just a birthday card. Like, it's not a big deal. But he did that on purpose. He missed her 3rd birthday. He missed Christmases. He never cared before. But now all of a sudden you care to send her a card to an address that is under the, you shouldn't even know. I don't even know how you know. I never gave it
Yeah,
to
but
you.
he wanted you to know.
Yeah, it's a violation of my privacy. If you really cared about her birthday, you wouldn't have missed her birthdays. You would have even just called and said happy birthday. Like, he sent me that card, or her specifically, to let me know he knows where I live. And I stood and stared at that card for probably like what felt like forever. And then I called the non-emergency police line. I did the thing where, like, I can't speak. I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I can't say what I need to say. When I was crying, the police came. I said, I'm not leaving my car. And then it took me back to every time I saw a car that looked like his, or I thought I saw him in a hat, wondering if it was really him because he knew my
Yeah.
address. It took me back. And I told the police, I'm like, every time I thought I saw him, like, and I told myself, oh, it's not him. It's not him. I'm being crazy. It could have been him. And the police officer was so compassionate and he took it seriously. He took the evidence. He took the card. He asked who name was it on the envelope. But this was another brother that worked for a different police department. So imagine this, right? All these police officers in your family and none told you not to freaking send me a letter. So it was in that brother's name. And whew, it was one of those things where he was smart enough to send it to our daughter because I don't know how he got my address, but violating by sending her mail wasn't going to get him in trouble, if that makes sense. Like, it's documented, but he didn't send anything to me. And he did it in a way that's like if I say this, his family was like, oh, he just sent the birthday card. She's being ridiculous. Like, that's probably how they would handle it. Not understanding, no, he sent it to an address he's not supposed to have. He sent it to an address I didn't give him. We are not friends. We are not cordial. The girlfriend even made a comment. She was like, oh, he wishes he could say sorry to you on the phone call we had. And and she said that she asked him, well, why can't you? And I'm like, so he's forthcoming, but he didn't tell you he has 2 protection orders in 2 different states, that he can't communicate with me? Like, it's like he didn't even tell
Yeah.
her that, because why would you think he could talk to me and say sorry? So he could manipulate. Like, it was just one of those things where I'm like, oh my God, like, it's the courage that he had where he would violate protection orders multiple times, get warnings from probation officers and still violate. It's the confidence and courage he had to send me mail, right? Because he's surrounded by a father who's a retired police officer, brothers who's police officers, a sister-in-law who's a police officer. They're making excuses for him and making him seem like I'm the problem and he's not, and he thinks that he could do these things. Even in a new relationship, he thinks he could still do these things, and
Yeah.
it's
It's like
unfortunate.
he's untouchable. He's nothing's
Right,
happening and everybody's defending him, and I can
right,
only imagine how
right.
lonely it was for a while for you to have to go through this.
Yep. It was difficult, but to be honest, like, we moved again, and the way that we moved this time is really different. My name's not on anything. If I can give anybody advice, if you're able to, if you need to buy a home and things like that and you're scared, it's important to know there is resources. One of them costs this one's a little bit more costly, but you can get help with it, is getting, a trust set up.
Mhm.
You could buy homes under a trust. I don't know if people know that. I didn't know that. There's ways to keep your information off of records. For all these Amazon shoppers out here, you don't have to put your full name on the package. You can put a
Yeah.
nickname. It's okay. Um, there's so many things I learned, but I'm further away from family because I had to move and I just didn't want to be close to him.
Yeah.
Um, so that part sucks. But I want to say, like, there's no way to fully be hidden, even under the.
Mhm.
So I had to deter the methods that I was using before. And I don't want to share too much of them. Obviously, anybody could DM me if they want to know. I'd love to help,
Perfect.
but I just don't want him to find this new one. Um, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
different. I don't even get mail. That's how bad it is. Um, um, it's just not worth the risk.
Yeah. And I mean, when we talk about the gaslighting, that's more of the like, no, I don't know what that mark on the floor is. And I don't know how that hole got there or whatever. Right. But when we start talking about dog whistling, that's all the things that people do that it doesn't seem like it's wrong. Like for the family, they can justify. It's like he sent his daughter a birthday card, and it makes it feel like the other person is so horrible for not
Yeah,
accepting it.
for getting upset and calling the police over a birthday card. Like that's how he wanted it to be. Absolutely.
Right.
Like I think one of the comments the ex-girlfriend made too is that she's like, "Oh, they said that you were." She's like, "I don't think you are." She's like, "I believe you." And I remember
Uh-huh.
thinking, like, is that what they want to call protecting myself? And but I'm a because of it.
Yeah.
Like, it was really hard. They tried to make the person that was harmed seem crazy, seem chaotic and unstable. And
Uh-huh.
that's the problem a lot of survivors face when we speak up. That's how they want to make us seem. Why the abuser's calm, collective, the victim. My ex was
Yeah.
really big on being the victim. He could even cry on cue. Like, he's a good crier. Cry on cue, make you feel really bad for him, like he really wants to change. Um, I'll be honest with you, being in his head, I would never want to be in his head because I
Yeah.
know he struggled. I truly, truly know he struggled a lot in his head, and I genuinely don't think that he has compassion, empathy, or love for others. I don't.
Yeah, and it seems like they know that too. But
Yeah.
and to keep the family system going, it's just like, don't talk about it, just
Mhm.
endure it, get through it. He has the best intentions. Like they will cover up anything
Yeah,
just to make
absolutely.
sure the family is
He's
not beaten
family.
down.
The biggest thing is his family. He's our family. Well, family deserves truth. Family deserves accountability. Family deserves to change for the better. What about his child? She's family, but I guess
Right.
not.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I hear your strength and I know you've survived a lot before any of this, meeting him, right? Just in
Yeah.
the way you talk about like shortly the way you grew up. But what helped you stay strong during all these transitions?
To be honest, it was most likely therapy and my older sister, because they were my biggest crutch. Like, I remember having this one therapy session where I was trying so hard not to cry, and I just broke down, and she just, like, was like, "I'm so happy that you're finally crying." And it's crazy because, like, I try not to cry to my best ability, and she just was like, "You needed to cry. You needed to, um, open up in this way and release in this way." And after that session, I remember feeling like I don't have to be strong. I don't have to be on autopilot. And I was. That's what got that's what I was doing. And I was like, I
Yeah.
could understand that this isn't this isn't the way to live. Like,
Mhm.
this isn't the way I should live. And I need to feel safe. My children need to feel and be safe. And I think that's the understanding of that is what got me through. Like, I don't care how hard it is. We got to get back to a better place. Like, we got to get to safety. No matter how many tries it takes, we can't just keep living like this.
Yeah.
And my sister has been so supportive. When I say so supportive, I mean like the first apartment I moved to, when I flee the family home in Colorado, she found that apartment. She reviewed it for me. She made sure it was in a safe community and that I would like it. Um, and even like just the money wise, she was helping me financially too with it. Like,
Mhm.
because I was leaving one place to go to another. I still had to pay mortgage in Colorado. He had refused. So I still had to pay the mortgage. I was on the deed and things like that. But all the bills were in my name, like the, electric, water. I had to make those payments, but I was also paying the mortgage as well because he was refusing to pay. Um, and whenever I would take money out of our joint account to make these payments because I needed it, that's when he called me the racial slur, said I was stealing from him. And I'm like, I'm the one working. You're not. Like, it was just crazy because the majority of the money that went in the joint account was from me. So, um, me financially not wanting to take out the account, money out the account because of how he would act, she would step in and like I would pay her back, of course. But like it was one of those things where she did it so quickly. Like, here, I'll pay your security deposit because I was scared to take big chunks out because he would freak out, even though it was a joint account. So she was there in that way too. But like more than anything, I think she understood that I wasn't, crazy. And that's and his family made me feel so crazy. They made me feel like I'm the problem. And she reminded me every day, this isn't normal. What you're dealing with isn't okay. They aren't normal. They are toxic. They are the problem. Defending an abuser is the problem. And therapist too. It was a DV specialized therapist. So she knew. She's seen this a million times. Actually, something she said that will stay with me is that I triggered her. She actually was gonna get me a new therapist. She said I was triggering her. And I'm like, my story is so bad. It's triggering you, a DV specialist, but it was because I wasn't just dealing with domestic violence. It was the
Right.
racism. And she experienced that herself. And that triggered her. And
Yeah.
I could not, no therapist ever told me I triggered them. But
Yeah.
she said she refused. She said she was thinking about getting me with another one, but she said no. She knew that I needed her because of her expertise, but she also felt like, although she's being triggered a little bit by me, that we can get through this together. And I was like, oh my God, that stayed with me. That stayed with me.
Yeah, I love that she was open about that because as a
Mhm.
therapist, we experience transference and countertransference for things we've been through that we're helping people through, but identifying it helps you prevent the bias that shows up. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because there was so much bias with his family and
Mhm.
everything that if she was getting triggered and didn't bring that up, but started behaving that way, then you're experiencing that in a therapeutic space too.
Right.
So like she sounds like a good therapist.
Yes. I don't have her anymore because I graduated from her. I had her so long, but she was amazing. Got me through my toughest times.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that got you through that transition. And I was wondering, is there anything that you constantly have to rework through that you've overcome it or really healed through it, but you have to keep working through?
I think the anger, once you play it back, I think
Yeah.
the anger, sometimes I have to realize I think, okay, I remember one of the things that confused me is how fast he was able to move on, right? How fast he's able to start like a new
Yeah.
life, move in, play stepdad to someone else's children after like banning his. I was so confused. I'm like, it makes you think like, wait, well, how? Like, I'm not even nowhere near ready to move on and be romantic with someone else. I'm still healing. I'm still traumatized. But he was able to so quickly and so fast
Yeah.
and so seriously. And I'm like, am I the problem? Like, it wasn't me. And then I had to rework my brain and realize, oh my God, like, why would I ever think it was me? Like he
Yeah.
made those decisions. And just because it looks like he's happy or, there's pictures of him and things like that, like, uh, it's the same thing I used to do. I used to have those pictures with him, right? The kissy pictures, and I was being abused. I was actively unhappy. And he's really good at the love bombing stage and pretending. So I had to remind myself it wasn't me. This is a part of the cycle. He's starting a cycle with someone new, and hopefully she can get out before I did. But like, I had to rework my brain to realize just because he moved on so fast, that's actually a part of the cycle. Narcissists do that. Um, and I told myself, like, does a happy man, you know, ignore his child, his own child? Is that a good man? Is that a quality man? Does a happy man ever lay his hands on a woman or his child? I had to
Mhm.
remember those things, and I had to remember who he is, not who he pretends to be. And I think it's just like reworking your brain of like a lot of women, they say like, oh, they moved on and they did that. And I'm like, they didn't move on. They,
Mhm.
they moved to the next victim, but they didn't move on. And it's a shame that we sometimes think it's our fault because we see that they've moved on and we didn't yet.
Yeah.
It's
And
confusing.
it also but remember, after being gaslit for so long too, you don't always know that you're experiencing what's actually happening because there's
Mhm.
always this questioning, "Did I see that? Did I hear that?" So when
Right.
you start seeing the relationship, the mind goes back to the good sometimes. So then you see them with someone else and you're like, "Oh my gosh, was I wrong? Could have
Mhm.
have been this?" It's a tug of war. So I'm glad to
Yeah.
hear you say that you've figured out how to
It was
process through that.
it was really confusing because I'm like, I'm left traumatized and this man already is in, living with somebody else. It was I think it was
Yeah.
confusing just because, when he was doing all the post-separation abuse and harassment, I thought that he was, like, having a hard time in a sense, like,
Yeah,
going through a lot.
spiraling maybe.
Yeah, I thought he was maybe spiraling, and that's why, but the whole time, like, he was searching for a new supply. I didn't even say this part, but, when he was out on bail harassing us at the family home, my daughter, had his, like, iCloud thingy on his iPad. The iPad got an alert, and it was, again, my daughter's iPad. He was just signed in, and he had downloaded 2 dating apps. The week from Bell, and I remember, like, I to be honest, I wasn't mad in a sense because, again, I was falling out of love with that man so hard, so, like, it wasn't like, "Oh my god," but it all
Yeah.
made sense later on. I'm like, "Oh my god, he was looking for a new supply that quickly, that quickly."
Wow.
Not even trying to heal, not even trying to get better, not even trying to get real, like, mental health work, and I think I had to remember those type of things, like, he can't survive on his own because he has to live with himself, right? He needs
Yeah.
somebody to make him feel great, to speak highly of him and, make him think that he's great.
Yeah. And one of the things you put up that I have here is you said the real problem, a man can abuse a woman for years and she'll stay quiet to protect him. But the moment she says enough, it's war. The smear campaign starts, the enablers come running because it was never about her safety. It was about her silence, her complicity to keep his reputation intact. Well, his reputation.
Yeah,
And I love that because you can't really care too much about, everything that's said, but like this is just another way of you like healing out loud and
yeah,
processing through getting through that transition. So you
yeah,
speaking up seems like that's been helpful.
yeah. I say that to everybody. His reputation. It's not our job to protect it.
Yes. And what has healing taught you about like love and trust in your own boundaries?
Ooh, to be honest, healing has been beautiful because it taught me self
Yeah.
love to the extreme. Like, even just in friendships, like after all of this and I started healing, I don't even play about myself when it comes to friendships. I had a friend judging me for getting divorced, judging me for how I single mom. And I cut that friend off so fast because it's crazy because before I'll be like trying to explain myself or prove myself or,
Right.
no, I got divorced for a great reason. If there's a great reason, this would be it. Don't stay in something like this.
Yeah.
But I'll say it taught me self love to the point that there's no man on this earth that would ever, ever, um, make me think that
Hmm.
being abused, being physically harmed, manipulated is a prize or a characteristic trait.
Yeah.
I don't care who that person is. That's not a trait that I want in my future partner. That's not a trait that I want to be to anyone. I don't want to do that to anyone either. I don't want that done to me. I have a daughter, I have a son. I don't want my son to be like that. I don't want my daughter to deal with that. It just taught me that that's not a character trait that I want around me, whether it's in friendships. Like if I have a male friend that does that to someone, I don't want that.
Yeah.
It just teaches you to value yourself more than the idea of a man. Um,
Hmm.
And I think that's what I was doing. I think the idea of feeling protected, after the shooting situation at work, I think I wanted to feel protected. I wanted to feel safe. And
Yeah.
I truly do look back and think I saw what I wanted to see. I do.
Well, it's hard when you finally meet somebody who's mirroring you because it's like you want to feel comfortable with someone and here somebody's showing you. So it's like, yeah, we see what we want to see. We miss some signs, but only in hindsight. I'm
Mhm.
not saying somebody couldn't come in now
Right.
and, you'll see it right away now, but
Right.
when you've never experienced this, I mean, it feels like finally somebody understands me. My whole life I felt so misunderstood. And now here's this person coming out
Yeah.
of the blue. It feels like fate.
And it's insane too because before I moved to California, um, I had like a long-term on and off partner, someone that I knew since I was like 18. I was really close with his mom. And sometimes because I don't have like a mom, I would stay in relationships longer just for that
Yeah.
experience with the mom of my partner. And he was one of those people that I stay with a little bit longer. Not like, again, we just weren't going to work out.
Yeah.
But when I had left, um, my ex-husband and moved back at that time to the state that I was in that we're both originally from, I had reconnected with my former partner's mom. And I told her what was happening. We were eating. We were just like, crying on each other's shoulders. She was just so sad that I experienced that. And again, I knew this lady since I was like 18, 19. So this was someone that I thought of as a second mom. But she let me know her son was going through a divorce too, which is ironic, right? Timing. Um, and I remember the first thing that came to my head was, I'm sorry, I feel bad for him. Not, okay, like that's nothing to do with me. And of course, being as though me and her were super close, since I was young, she had said, like, maybe you guys could talk. And I told her, I said, I didn't come here to go backwards with anybody. I didn't come here to meet anybody right now. I'm healing. I stood on business because I did end up going out to, I think we had lunch together. And I told him the same thing. And he was like shocked. And it's crazy how people get shocked when you have boundaries of, I'm not trying to get back into anything. Like I'm literally
Mhm.
healing. I'm choosing to be single because who am I to get into a relationship months after, like I was still married at the time, by the way, but like, I was going through a divorce and I was like, where am I mentally? And I remember explaining that to him, like, aren't you trying to heal too mentally? You're going through a
Yeah.
divorce too. Like, it might not be like abuse involved, but you're going through a divorce. And um, it's funny because it was a boundary that I feel like if I didn't heal, I probably would have went right back into his arms. Someone that I know wasn't
Yeah.
my person, but wasn't abusive. He wasn't for
Mhm.
me, but he was not abusive. He was like kind. Um, I think if I didn't heal, I would have went back to that for the security, for the safety. But
Yeah.
I'd rather have stood on my own than go back to something that's not for me, and that is healing. And even now, like, I was talking to him not too long ago, and he like laughs about it because this happened 2 years ago. Well, a little less than 2 years ago at this point. And he was like, "Yeah, it was me. I could tell you didn't want me ever again." I was like, "It has nothing to do with you or anybody. It's just I wasn't ready to date, and we had broke up for a reason, and I was healing, and I'm still, I'm not
Yeah.
going backwards." And I was so proud of myself because he was a comfort zone. He was a comfort
Yeah.
zone because I was always on and off with him since teenage years. And I still chose no.
Yeah, but that is so courageous. A lot of people create the same cycles, even in different spaces, because
Mhm.
then if you would have rushed into that, it would have mimicked the same relationship where things rushed, even though you knew him longer. It's like
Yep.
you really broke a cycle there. And that's what it takes is just,
Yes.
am I okay? Am I ready for a relationship? And I'm so glad you were able to do that.
Yep. I'm proud of myself looking back because even like some of my friends and family that knew about us, they were just like, I'm shocked you didn't go back to him. Actually, some of them wanted us to get back together because, that comfort. And even now, like I have a little sister who's like, actually a little sister and her best friend. They both attacked me on my birthday. Cause I was single at the time for like a year and a half. Now it's been like 2 years. They were just like, girl, what are you doing? You're going to get old and not have anybody. I'm like, I don't know why, but those things don't bother me the way they bothered me before. Like when I was younger, I don't. And I truly feel like dating with a daughter. And I know it could be the same with a son. Like I don't want to be that person, but it's so different. My abuse as a child comes out so much more with my daughter. Like it comes out in the sense of like protecting her. Like, I don't want her around different men, to be honest with you. And
Yeah.
it's just, I don't see things, and it could be that I'm still healing. I don't see things the same anymore. Like, from at the park and the man stares too much long at her, I immediately go there. And it's like, I don't
Yeah.
think that's fair to date where I don't see you. I'm seeing protect her. And
Yeah.
it's so, it's normal to protect your kids, but I'm not seeing things straight anymore. I'm not seeing genuineness anymore. And I have to see that before I let another man enter our lives, because I would always be critical. I would always be worried. And I think it's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with being, alert. But trust me, if you knew what was inside my head, whenever I see somebody look at my daughter too long, look, my abuse comes back now that I have a daughter. And it's insane, because it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, no one protected me. I'm like 10, 100 protecting her. And I
Yeah.
also feel like it's a trauma response because of what I dealt with, all the other traumas coming back. And I don't think that's a mental state to date.
Mhm.
Um, if I don't feel safe around men right now. And I think that's
Yeah.
very fair. Um,
Absolutely, it's
and I
fair and it's
noticed that.
responsible.
Yeah, and I think that's me being mature enough to say, I don't want to date you because I don't know you. And because I don't know you, I don't trust you around my daughter. And that's
Yeah,
so.
and one of the things about trauma too is like before you already had a heightened sense, you knew when you had kids you wanted to protect them both.
Yep.
But when you see somebody get away with stalking and
Yes.
you have to second guess whether you saw them
Yep.
and the system, thank goodness you encountered good police officers, but the system failed a little bit because they didn't get in trouble for certain things. And
Right.
once you
Right.
see that, you're like, some of this protection's out of my hands, so let me control what I can.
Right. And I'm happy you bring up the police part, because there's so many women I've spoken to that did not have the experience with police I had. And
Yeah.
it breaks my heart, because I was already having a hard time. If I had a difficult time with police, I think it would have took me over the edge. So I
Yeah.
know so many women, like, my heart goes out, because I mean, it could happen to any of us. It could happen to any of us with these police officers. I think that, if I was closer to his area and I was dealing with the police in his area, I probably wouldn't have had the same experience, because again, his family are police there. I probably would
Yeah.
have not been believed, the same. I think separating from his area and helped. Um, and again, the arresting police officers that arrested him the night he was arrested, they had come out before. I told you they come out
Mhm.
before. So I think they also saw the trend. And I do think some police departments are being more educated on domestic violence.
Yeah.
And I think that all police departments need to be, but I do think it's being talked about more, because so many women and children are losing their lives because they weren't taken seriously. And
Yeah.
it shouldn't get to that point. This is more public knowledge. It was like a news article, but my ex-husband's father was shot in the face because of a domestic violence holdup situation. He was shot by the husband. Um, so, I mean, he lived, obviously, but them to call me the crazy ex of the new supply, it's heartbroken, because he knows firsthand how scary and dangerous domestic violence is. He was on duty as police officer, and he experienced that. And it's crazy that, and one of the things is the husband that shot him was a veteran. My ex-husband was a veteran. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of similarities. The difference is it's his son. One person's his son, the other is not. And that
Yeah.
just goes to show how deep these enablers and flying monkeys are. Someone who experienced something that traumatic, got harmed on the job from it, still calls me the crazy ex, knowing all his son has done.
Right. And so we always talk about closure either through reconnection, because sometimes we do that. Obviously, I know that's not the option here, but what does closure through release look like for you?
I think closure for me looks like kind of what I'm doing now. Like, I'm not moving again. I mean, unless I want to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be years down the line, but I'm not running anymore. I'm tired of running every time he locates an address. I'm taking
Mhm.
safety precautions, things like that in place. But I'm no longer letting him control the outcome anymore, because me
Yeah.
running every time he finds my location, me living on edge, looking over my shoulder, it's still him having the control. So I released his control. I sad to say, and I know people probably can relate, and it's hard to say this out loud, but like, part of him having a new person in his life, I was hoping that meant he would leave me alone. And I remember telling my sister, I was like, I just deep down, I'm just happy it's not me, but I was relieved in a sense that he had somebody else because that means I'm safe. But then I also felt bad for her because she has kids. So it's like a double edged sword. Like, it's like, oh, thank not me. But I think that knowing that he was still doing things like finding my address, even though he had someone else, it's like, even though I felt that relief at first, I'm like, oh my God, like it's not going to stop. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to stop. Doesn't matter who he has. So that's when I realized I have to stop it. And that was me saying he's not going to control my outcome anymore for me or my children. We're going to live. We're going to be happy. We're not going to keep looking over our shoulders. We'll be vigilant, and it's my job to be protective of them. But I'm no longer letting him control what we do, how we do it, or where we go in life.
Yeah. And if someone was listening and they're where you once were, where they were like dealing with being blamed, doubted, or like afraid to leave, what would you want them to know right now?
If they're dealing with being blamed and doubted and afraid, um, I get that. I want them to know that no matter what anyone else says about your situation, they weren't there. They weren't the ones being abused. They aren't the ones living with the person. They they're not walking in your shoes, so it's easy to judge from the outside.
Hmm.
But this is how I feel. I feel like we only have this one life, right? This is our only chance to have the future that we decide. And if we decide safe and healthy, we have to go for it. And it's not going to be easy, but having a plan in place um, will help us get there. And I think that when I think of when I get old, I don't want to look
Hmm.
back, and I don't want somebody else to look back and say, "Oh, I spent all my life being in an abusive marriage, being unhappy. Now my kids are grown and
Hmm.
I'm miserable." I want them to have a happier experience. I think we all deserve it. And the sooner we leave and choose ourselves, the sooner we can get that, and the sooner our kids get to see that. Kids don't need a two-parent household to be healthy and safe. They need a safe and healthy parent. It
Yeah.
could just be one. And I promise you that, like, kids want to see their parents happy, whether, it's their mother, father, they want to see them happy. And just being in the household, going through abuse is starting a cycle for them where they believe that they should accept this. And we want to
Absolutely. And I thank you so much for being here today and telling your story because I think it's so empowering. I think you're so brave. The things that you've been speaking up about, I think it will save somebody else. And that's why I invited you here because I knew that what you had went through wasn't easy, but that it's possible to get out.
thanks for having me.